Hello again, Erin Dragonsong, wiccaspirituality.com. And today I want to talk a little bit about ascension. I've mentioned this word before, and I think it requires explanation because a lot of people talk about ascension in more the new age kind of world, and it can take on a connotation that I don't think is accurate or right. And so you might be wondering, okay, what are we hearing in Wicca about ascension? Like, what the heck? We're not about ascending in Wicca. Well, we're not about the old definition of ascending. And you can pick another term if you want. I've called this many things. But ascension is one of them, and I just want to clarify why. What's going on is that the Earth, the entire planet, the entire Gaia sphere, okay, all beings that are part of this Mother Earth consciousness that we call Gaia. So humans, plants, animals, birds, insects, rocks, the planet herself, all of it. There's one overarching consciousness that we're all a part of. We're going to get more aware of that. That's going to be one of the fun things that's coming up. What's happening right now is that Gaia herself is evolving to a higher level of consciousness and complexity and beauty. And it's not even just our planet. This is happening with our entire solar system. There's a lot of stuff out there in the news, or at least there was. I haven't been paying attention to the news, but bits and pieces here and there, like this is happening, the greatest solar storm ever, or you know what, I'm just making stuff up now. I can't remember the details off the top of my head, but there's all these things happening with the sun, the various planets. Things are changing, not just for the Earth. But let's focus here, because this is what we know best, and this is what affects us the most. We are going through a process of ascending to a higher level and a higher order of being, a higher frequency. Literally, the frequency of the Earth is changing. It's becoming, it's going into a higher frequency that we would call spiritual, divine frequency, light frequency, love frequency. Okay. The whole planet is doing this. And what it doesn't mean is that we're evolving out of matter entirely. We're not going to drop our bodies and suddenly become light beings with no form, no physical form. That's not the goal. That's not the purpose. That's not why we're here. And I think that's the thing about Wicca that keeps drawing me back, and that made, it inspired me to pursue this connection between spirit and matter to the degree I have, and start a whole new kind of Wicca around it, is because we are meant to be here on this planet. This is a sacred experience. The planet is a holy, wonderful, precious adventure. It's a gift. It's not something that we want to awaken to the point where we don't have to come back here anymore. That's not the point. Especially now, a lot of us here come from other planets, or have not had other lifetimes on this planet, or we have had lifetimes on this planet and we've kind of moved on, but come back to be part of this great adventure that we're doing right now, which I should probably talk about at some point. I've alluded to before. So where was I? We're moving into a new state of a new frequency of being. And yes, that means that matter is lightening up. As matter moves into higher frequency, it becomes more energetic, more energy-like than physical-like, more wave-like than particle-like, you could say, in terms of quantum physics. But we are still going to be the particle. We are still going to be in these wonderful, precious, beloved bodies, on this wonderful, precious, beloved physical earth. However, we're going to be here differently. The energy is going to be, the matter is going to be much more fluid, much more easily altered, evolving, changed. Healing, for instance, is going to be able to happen very, very easily, very, very quickly. Because matter right now, or in the past, matter has been very, very slow and dense and stable. That's kind of its, keyword. But it's going to be more fluid than it has been. So what that means in terms of this ascension process is that the matter that you are in, the physical body that you are in, has to upgrade, literally physically, to a new vibrational frequency. This is a difficult task. It's your brain is doing this, your mind is doing this, your heart is doing this, your physical body is doing this. All levels of you are elevating in this way to higher frequencies, just as they are for all of the planet, the rocks, the trees, the plants, all of it. And as that happens, it can be very challenging. It can be very draining. It can be very disruptive to the system. The status quo kind of breaks down in order for a new status quo to be born. That's how transformation happens. That's like the definition of transformation. The old way breaks down. The composting of the winter, the dying off of the old, feeds the life of the new, creates space for the life of the new, right? That's what we're going through. And in the body, if you've ever done a lot of intensive work, physical, even emotional trauma work, you know that you sometimes get a healing crisis after. And a healing crisis, if you're not familiar, is when the body feels sick. It's overloaded with toxins that have been released from where they've been hiding, and they're in the process of flushing out of you in one way or another. And like energetically, emotionally, physically, whatever. But in the meantime, you're kind of saturated with these toxins and it feels really, really bad. This is one explanation for healing crisis. That's the physical explanation. So while that happens, you have the symptoms of what we call colds or flus. And in fact, we may find in the next few years or so that what we have been calling colds and flus are actually upgrade mechanisms. That's particularly true with viruses, which are an upgrade mechanism of Mother Earth, a communication system. I mean, that's how trees communicate with each other when an invader comes into the forest, some new threat, some new issue that they have to deal with. They spread that information through things like viruses. So these are upgrade mechanisms, and it can feel really bad. I'm not gonna lie. It can feel, cleansing is not fun. This is not for the faint of heart. But we are being purified as both a species and individuals, and we're clearing out all this ancestral garbage at the same time in order that we can function on the level of light frequency that is now coming into the planet, so that we can be part of this new reality, this new earth that's being born right now. So that's what I mean by ascension. And that's why I talk about this ascension process being hard on the body. It's a lot of change for the body to adapt, and it's going so fast, like so fast, and faster all the time. And it's hard for the body to catch up. And it depends too on your level of flow, really. If you've been a long time where you've just been holding on to the banks and you don't want to change, and you don't want to, come into a more responsible, self-responsible way of seeing life, then that can be really, really hard on you, and it can hit you like a ton of bricks. And I'm not saying anything about what's happening to individual people or why, because there's too many variables. I'm just saying that if you've been resistant or if it's been difficult for you to move and adapt and flow up until now, this can be an even harder transition. So my point is, be gentle with yourself. Be kind to yourself. Be gentle and kind with each other, because no matter what you're going through, everybody else is going through something, you know, similar. We're all going through this. It's hard on all of us. It's hard on the planet. You know, that's why there's so much chaos going on in the atmosphere and the weather and everything. Part of it, at least. We need to just be gentle and kind and patient and compassionate. And start with you. Start with your own self. We can be so hard on ourselves when we don't live up to our expectations, or things don't go the way we think they should, or we're not being the people we want to be, or whatever. This is not the time for really being hard on ourselves. This is the time for loving ourselves anyway. And when you actually give that compassion and love to yourself, it goes much more naturally. It flows much more naturally out of you to other people. And as that compassion spreads around the world, it just helps purify and heal all of this that we're dealing with, and move us closer to the world that we want to be in. All right, this was a little bit long, I think, but I hope it was helpful. And I'm so glad that you could join me again. I look forward to seeing you next time. And shall I invite you again to leave comments? Shall I invite you again to my Elevation email list? There's a lot of neat stuff happening, and I want to be there for you. I want to help support you through it. And that's the whole point of this. So I will talk to you again soon. Take good care. Bye-bye. Look, I know where the button is.